Welcome back, everybody, to Business Talk. Thanks for joining us again. I'm your host, DDA, and in today's episode, I will be speaking with Angelia. She works with Cani Property Management. How you doing today, Angelia?
Doing great. Thanks for having me here today. I really appreciate the time with you.
You're very, very welcome. So, listeners, in each episode, our guests share practical tips and valuable advice that can help you navigate life and stay ahead in your journey. Today's episode, we're going to bring some important information when it comes to managing multiple properties. Angelia is going to talk about conflict resolution, hiring property managers, common mistakes landlords make to avoid issues, as well as talk about tenant screening. But before we go any further, if you do like this video, please feel free to subscribe to it. Also, comment, it helps out our guest as well. And please also, if you can, we're going to go ahead and share maybe a story or two. Angelia might have one for us. But if you don't mind, Angelia, let's start with your background and give us a little bit of insight on how you got into property management.
Sure. Honestly, this is probably the craziest journey. I always hear from other people that are in property management. They're like, "Well, I didn't like grow up and say I want to be a property manager." You kind of like fall into it, right? And my
Right.
journey was is pretty interesting. I'm an industrial engineer, was in manufacturing and operations. I help businesses scale through systems and strategy. But my partner in all things, he had been in property management for more than 18 years. And he would share with me all these challenges and everything that they would go through. And I would just see how broken the industry really was in property management. And I felt like there was a massive gap between property managers who just maintain the property and those who create value. And with my background in systems processing and building a strategy behind asset management in the manufacturing world, it was really just almost like an ease to fall into this because there's so much similarities there, and being able to bring that and leadership and scaling, we decided we were going to rebrand and build together this property management company. So what drew me in was truly just the opportunity to do it better. I wanted to be able to treat those investors and tenants like humans and help them build businesses that are really machines that can scale.
Well stated. I like a couple words that you use, leadership and value. In business, right, we always want to make sure we bring value to our clients and also do the relationships. All these things are very, very important. So good job. Kudos for you for saying that. What is it, as a property manager, what does a typical day kind of look like in your world?
Right. Well, for us, again, because we've built those systems and we've got an amazing team. Fortunately, I'm not in the field changing toilets or or fixing toilets and changing locks. We do have that build a team. But when we talk to our property manager, it's being proactive with repairs. It's making sure that things are handled in a way where we're building that high level strategy and partnerships for growth. With the property managers, they're making sure that repairs are happening in a timely manner, and that the communication is happening between the tenant and the repair person, whether it's our in-house repair team or an external vendor, if that's what the owner wants to do. And then keeping that proactive management with the owner so they know what's going on. I mean, it's
Right.
at the end of the day, it's their asset. Within property manager, that management, that's really, it's communication. It's constant communication, and just making sure that everybody on the chess field is in their appropriate places and moving at the right speed. For myself, I get the opportunity to even see on the back end of operations, making sure that vendors are paid with our accounting team, and making sure that all the employees have everything they need, their tools, their training, and the time to execute what we said we were going to do. So for me, sometimes it's I'm meeting with realtors or training or working on pipelines or just troubleshooting those types of things. And I like to sometimes refer myself as more of like the architect, but not the wrench turner.
I
So,
like
but I
that.
still get to see all of those problems that happen. And at the end of the day, we're not just managing those properties. We're really managing the people, the cash flow, and the trust with all of those that we touch.
Very well stated. So, Angelia, every industry has challenges, right? If we want to use that word. Are there any challenges in your industry as a whole that you see that you can share
Communication.
with our listeners?
100% communication. I think, and communication goes both ways. So when you whether you're managing ten doors or whether you're managing 100 doors or whether you're managing 1,000 or 10,000 doors, if you don't have the right systems in place, then those biggest challenges are going to completely be revealed. And the biggest of those is lack of communication, unclear expectations, and then just outdated processes to get it done. Owners want proactive updates. Tenants want to be heard that, hey, I have a problem and I want to make
I
sure
need it
someone's hearing
fixed.
me.
Right.
Right. And so our job is to make sure that no ball gets dropped. And that's where that automation, standard operating procedures, team structure, accountability, you just can't fake that operations.
Good point. There's that word that we call two words, conflict resolution. And I think you kind of summarize it a few times in terms of if you build that communication, correct me if I'm wrong, and you're out there sharing, communicating with your clients, that's going to help reduce that conflict resolution, correct?
For sure, absolutely. Within conflict resolution, we approached everything with empathy and evidence. if you if you have both of those things, then generally you can get to the appropriate resolution. Most difficult tenants really just want to feel seen or heard, and so we lead with professionalism. We document everything. Everything
Right.
has a picture, everything has, a timestamp, all of those things, and we act fast. So we just don't let situations fester. I remember I had a person in my childhood that just said, bad news doesn't get better with time. And that's a really important thing to follow. So we know when sometimes we have to draw that hard line, but we do it respectfully and we do it legally. So there's never a power trip. We just set clear boundaries. And that's why we actually named our business Constant and Never Ending Improvement, Cani Property Management, is because we want to make sure that we're constant and never ending in that improvement, even when conflict arises.
Wow, very cool. Hiring a property manager, there's probably a few steps that someone should look at that is looking to hire a property manager. What say you about maybe three, four, five steps to look for?
Yeah, so it's not just a price driven strategy. I mean, for some people, it is all about price, but you got to look at value, transparency, and communication style. You can ask, do they have a system for maintenance? How often will you hear from them? How often do you want to hear from them? Because that may be the difference of who you decide to go with. And then what happens if something goes wrong? And if it's important to you, is that property manager truly investor minded or are they just collecting rent? So a great property manager is going to be like a COO for your portfolio. And if you want someone that's going to be thinking in terms of ROI, tenant satisfaction, and asset protection, and not just putting out fires, those are the best questions to ask.
Wow, very good. So, in terms of technology, every industry has technology that's changing their industry and the way they do business. What is it? Anything that's actually helping you manage? And I know you have systems in place. We talked about that. Anything else that stands out?
So I am pro AI everything. I know a lot of people kind of worry about AI, but I definitely think that technology really makes everything better, faster. We can just be more responsive. We do use Appfolio, but I this may be just me sitting on a platform here about to say something that probably isn't completely politically correct, but I'm just going to say the platform that you use, if you actually use it and use it in the way it's intended, then that can definitely change the way that you manage. It's
Mm.
not just a tech solution alone, but you've got to have the humans invested in the solution. Too often have I seen companies that have this amazing tech stack, but then the people don't want to use it, right? So it's
Right,
like
right.
just use what you got, use it well, invest in the education on the technology piece, and it's just going to help you do more with less. So again, that's why I love AI, and we do incorporate it in multiple functions that we do, and it's good stuff.
Well, can you share a memorable experience with our listeners, and no names, of course, that taught you a valuable lesson in your business?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few. I mean,
There's
but
so
again,
many.
trying to narrow it down to one. So I think the biggest one that I would say is that when you we had a tenant that was just furious about a maintenance delay. They just weren't happy. The delays were happening, and honestly, rightfully so. We had our system in place, but again, one moment of communication failed. And instead of blaming our tech and instead of blaming the team, we just owned it. We picked up the phone and made it right. And so it turned that call from the tenant being angry to being loyal and then giving us a 5-star review on Google. So leadership, shows up in those ugly moments, and humility goes a long way. And I think for me, that just continues to teach me that you just got to be truthful in all things. It's important to do that.
Wow. And I can see the passion that you have, which is so awesome itself with what you do. Let me ask you another question as we wrap up here. If someone wanted to get into property management, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, since I kind of fell into property management myself, I would say study it like a business. Learn the laws, build the systems from day one, and don't try to do it all yourself. The one thing that I can truly say about the property management industry is the property managers that really care, they're open about their processes and procedures. They want to see other property managers win. So, property management isn't a passive business, it's operations, people, risk management all rolled into one. But if you do it right, you can create some serious impact, some income, and some freedom. But just don't wing it. Like, educate yourself.
Educate. Yes, that's always a powerful word in itself. Listeners, as we wrap up, if you definitely like this episode or what we're doing, please feel free to subscribe and like, and also leave a comment for Angelia as well. With that being said, Angelia, could you provide our listeners with a phone number as well as a website, maybe to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Our main website is super easy. It's www.canipm.com. So canipm.com. And if you want to get in touch with me personally and ask me any questions, I love questions. You can reach me at 407-760-7772. You can text that too, and I actually will respond.
Yes, you have a good way of doing that. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak
My
with our
pleasure.
listeners regarding your business. And I know they learned a lot from this episode. So again, listeners, please feel free to leave a comment and like this video and subscribe to the channel. With that being said, hopefully we can have you back on again in the near future.
This was so much fun. Thank you again so much for this opportunity.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to First Media Consulting Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, subscribe today. To nominate a business you would like to recommend to be on our show, go to firstmediaconsulting.com or call. Thank you for listening.